Walking the trade show floor, the most recent NECA National Convention revealed again to me the growing importance of software in the business and operation side of an electrical contractor's business. Choosing the right software can be daunting. I asked Chandler Brooks, Director of Industry Partnerships and Alliances at Procore Technologies, if he could join me during the NECA trade show to share his perspectives on what an EC should consider when thinking about which software to implement in their business. What I like about our conversation is how much Chandler thinks about the human side of construction. There's a lot of burnout and stress on all involved in the business of constructing and maintaining our buildings and infrastructure. This stress and burnout, I think, should be top of mind when beginning the journey of sourcing the right software for your business. Chandler Brooks has spent the last 14 years in the industry, from architecture to contracting to construction technology, connecting disparate dots of information, people, and processes, fueled by his passion for advancing the construction industry as the industry of choice. As director of Procore's Industry Partnerships and Alliances team, he catalyzes the Procore vision for the industry by partnering with the most influential industry organizations that serve it globally. I'm your host, Todd Reed, and welcome to Keeping the Lights On. Let's get into the show. So we start out each episode with the meals that bring us together. Chandler, if I were to visit you, where might you take me and why would you choose this?
Well, I will say, let me say this first. You can't go wrong in Austin with food. Whether you want barbecue, the best sushi you've ever had, or Tex-Mex, which are probably some of my three favorites, as you can tell. Really, you can't go wrong. What I think I find most interesting and what people don't pay attention to is actually nothing to do with food at all. The Capitol building is a really amazing feature. It's free to anyone to go in. You can experience what it's like for our congressmen to walk the halls. You can even sit in on active sessions sometimes. And because it is such an important building, it was built to be a beacon in the middle of the city. So Congress Avenue, for as far as the eye can see, is left wide open straight to the Capitol. And there's some really cool features in there that I would recommend anyone go check out.
So can you tell me a couple of the features of the building that really stand out to you? Like what stands out?
Well, when I first got to Austin, I moved there almost 7 years ago. First thing I did was visit. While I'm waiting in line, the doors are open, and I'm able to see the hinges. They're massive. First off, these doors are about 12 feet tall. It might even be 15. I'm not entirely sure. My frame of reference goes out the window with something that big. But the hinges are easily 8 or 10 inches big, and they are etched, every one of them, in brass, a motif of some kind related to Texan history. And just sitting there again, waiting in line to get in, you see these kind of details up close, and it's really impressive to have seen a building that certainly didn't need that much detail in it, considering how big it is. To see that they put it even in the hinges was really awesome.
Chandler, I appreciate you thinking outside the food box and coming up with this unique answer. So you're the first one to come up with an answer like that, which I appreciate. So, but why else did you choose architecture? Why does that stand out so much to you?
Yeah, I guess some history here is probably helpful. So I actually went to school for historic architecture. At the time, the program was called Historic Preservation at the Savannah College of Art and Design. So that is, its namesake is where it's actually located, which is in Savannah, Georgia. It's a very historic city, and a lot of the programming allowed us to get involved in adaptive reuse, preservations, different methods and means. We're able to do that right in the city, and sometimes in the buildings we were taking classes.
Well, the way the Capitol was built in Austin is, I'd say, very different than buildings are built today, but in some ways it's very similar. Because that said, construction's productivity has been called into question over the past few years. You can listen to podcasts, read white papers on it. Construction technology through new building methods, tools, and of course digital tools, software, are all considered to be saviors to bring construction to new levels of efficiency nirvana. First of all, I have a feeling you might have something to say about my efficiency nirvana comment, but also, how do you view or define construction tech and software? How do you look at that?
Well, one of the first things we need to talk about when talking about construction technology is what it is not. Construction technology is not a solution. It's an enabler to a solution. And now, the vernacular that you'll hear a lot is construction technology solutions. I think that's still appropriate within that vernacular and that context, but what a lot of contractors might not recognize when they're evaluating efficiency gains in their companies, they look at technology and they say, "Oh, that's my solution to my efficiency problem." And that's not actually a good mindset to walk into evaluating or looking at software for. It's not actually going to make you more efficient if that's all you did. If you just went and bought software, you have to look at, okay, what is this issue we're going to use software to solve? What is it going to enable us to do? Having a solution with technology as an enabler to it is really the mindset shift that I think will actually produce the efficiency nirvana, as you say, and actually that coming to pass. I think a lot of the examples where I've seen it done wrong is where they assume this will solve for them something versus an enabler to the solve.
Talk to me about like your kind of your viewing of like the role of technology and the people in the business.
I'm glad you brought that up. So solution and the solve and the technology is enabler to it. If you back up one step before even solution, who is the solution or what is the solve going to help? It's going to help your people. And so if any decision or strategy around a company is focusing on the best means of delivering excellence through their people, which is, I would say, a lot of people would say, and agree with me on this, that that is their most valuable resource, their human resource. So pulling back, following that thread, if we know that what we're solving for and the tools that we put in place are going to help our people, then we will win. Then the business will grow. Then we will see efficiency gains. All the things will follow very well. The people first mentality is actually a pretty popular concept floating around in the construction world. When I first started in the construction space, I started in architecture first. When I got into construction, it was really more about what we did with our people, but not how we enabled them, what jobs they performed, what roles that they served, and we were missing the bigger opportunity. Were they bringing their best selves to work? Did they have a good culture to work within to really do the best work that they had? And I don't think that was a discussion I could really have 14 years ago. Today, that is now in the nomenclature. Now we need to understand, well, what does it even mean when we say people first? And this is kind of the approach that I'm taking in our past discussion.
Well, let's stick with the people side of things real quick before we get to the more kind of technical side of things. So, there's a lot of electrical contractors and anyone in construction are very busy right now for the last few years. Like lots of pressure, fewer people doing the work, and so there's a lot of pressure for you to do 3 or 4 jobs. So can you talk a little bit about maybe how you think about burnout and I don't know, lack of a better word, the mental health of the people that you're of the construction industry?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So I kind of separate 2 different things when I think about burnout, when I think about the contractors in the world that they're in today. We've only been asked to do more with less, and usually that means less people. So that means despite the money that might be grown or gained, a lot of it is all of that falls down on the people that we work with. So that's the environment. The environment we're just in. Construction by design, by very nature, is difficult. It's a harder job. It requires a lot of grit and resilience. However, I think there is some control over that environment to make the experience of being in construction a little less painful. The people that are in it are some of the most determined, strong-willed, and enjoyable people I've ever been around. But the environment in which we require them to work isn't always matching that level of value. And I think there's more work to be done there to create an environment where people can not experience burnout, not experience overworking, and actually come refreshed and excited to do the work that they have something deep in them motivating them to do.
Let's touch on real quick. I think you and I are going to talk in the future about this in more detail, but can you talk real briefly about
the B1M relationship and what's going on there, what you all have worked on together here?
Absolutely. So we had our groundbreak annual conference last year in New Orleans, and one of the keynote speakers was the founder of the B1M. It is an amazing resource for construction. It gets out there the beautiful story of what these contractors are building, the things that we live in. So it's a series of documentary videos. It's bringing the world that's outside of construction into construction to see how great it is. So that's what the B1M does. The founder got up on stage and shared his journey in construction and his mental health journey as a means of bridging from I have something that I'm dealing with to we need to let other people know that there's probably others like me out there. And the way we can start to bring awareness is to talk. And so the name of this campaign that we've partnered with him on is called Get Construction Talking. And Get Construction Talking is really what it sounds like, is let's break down the stigma of mental health in construction. Let's begin to have conversations about, hey, today's a bad day. I'm gonna need some help today. I'm gonna need a timeout. Or I'm struggling, or recognizing others might not be doing well and actually asking them, are you okay? And then asking them again, no, but are you really okay? And I think that is a really easy thing that anybody can do. There's no barrier to entry there. We need to bring awareness that I think that a lot of people just don't know how many folks are suffering in this industry. And that's with all of the normal life stressors that anybody have. In construction, it might be dialed up even more because of the environment, as I mentioned, that we just have to operate in.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. Like I said, I think you and I and Fred might get together and have a deeper conversation about that on the show here sometime. But so thanks for kind of broaching that. I will put links to that. Let's Get Construction Talking so people can check that out. But so what's the current state of tech adoption among contractors, specifically the subs, like electrical, mechanical, plumbing, et cetera?
Well, I will share that this environment of construction technology, the landscape, the market, is bigger and more funded than it's ever been. Imagine 10 years ago we had maybe 2,000 or 3,000, which still seems like a lot, construction technology solutions. We're well over 5,000 to 6,000 now, and it's just growing every day. There are tons of venture capitalist firms and even construction companies themselves, which is really exciting to see, investing in technology to serve their businesses better. So that has a downside though. Your choices are endless, but it makes it difficult. You get this overwhelming sense of, I don't know where to begin. And not only that, you may not even understand what about your business requires what kind of software. So thinking about adoption in those terms is that first we have to understand the business needs. We have to make sure our organization is ready. And then finding the right solution will ensure adoption's likelihood or efficacy will be greater. But there has to be a culture and a willingness and an interest in taking on these new tools, which technology or otherwise. And if it's not there first, you're going to have a difficult time, an organization's going to have a difficult time seeing adoption rise up. Now, specific to electrical contractors, the adaptation requirements of that trade, I think, is such that the culture is supportive of new and different ways of doing work to get the job done. So I would say their culture is actually sustaining a culture of, they're going to have a better culture of adoption inherently. Now it's all about what is it we're adopting? What kind of technology is going to serve our business best? That's the challenge I think they're going to experience most.
I feel like I can't talk to a construction tech software person without bringing up AI, just because it comes up all the time. So maybe just touch on briefly, it's a deep topic, but what about AI and its role in software, and should a contractor think about this, or how should they think about it when making a decision from 6,000 software? Like, does AI even come into their thinking process yet?
So we just went from discussion of adopting technology now to AI. So it's just a massive leap. And my personal exploration of AI has been my own journey from a close friend that shared with me all the things he was doing with ChatGPT. That's kind of the recent well-known term or tool that's come to be. Now construction. How does this relate to construction? And I look at AI in this way. The definition of it is artificial intelligence. Okay. Take away artificial for a moment and look at intelligence. We already know how to work with intelligence. Usually it's human intelligence. Okay. How we communicate and how we prompt and how we ask questions, it's going to be no different with AI. You're going to have to learn how to ask the right question to get a response that actually produces some kind of value or result for you. AI, you don't need to be a master of how it works on the back end. You need to know how to wield it. And that's no different than how to wield your own human resource, albeit it is different. The thing I want to note, though, is being able to communicate through an AI platform. That's going to be a skill that every contractor is going to want to learn today how to master, to really harness it.
Yeah, that's a topic that we could spend hours on, probably in and of itself. But let's move on. So you've seen a lot of large contractors struggle with this technology issue as much as a small or medium, but they often have a department or maybe a titled position. Not all the time, but oftentimes that they can kind of focus and spend their time on this. But let's talk about the small to mediums that may not have this titled position. So can you maybe share how you've seen how they are successfully creating good tech stacks?
A lot of organizations that approach technology, again, as an enabler to a solution, as a means to make their programs better. Somewhere in the fold of their organization, someone is going to raise their hand, take an interest, see the benefit. Being able to identify who those people are and nurture that curiosity, nurture that interest, is going to mean, hey, I didn't necessarily have to go out and hire somebody, which I don't have the money for, and maybe I don't even know what I'm looking for. There's someone in my organization that's going to pick up this mantle. I need to be able to identify who they are and make sure that the environment in which they have to operate gives them the freedom to explore these new technologies for our organization. My own experience in this space was learning my craft first and taking my passion and interest for technology as an enabler to the people that I worked with. Whatever age they were, everybody had something to be gained by using this technology that we use in our company. I was fortunate enough to have an organization where they didn't say it was my title, but they gave me a little bit of runway. They gave me a little leash to say, hey, you know what? You're not working full time on this job, or you're in between certain projects. Why don't you explore how we can leverage technology better? And they let me do that, and it became a fulfilling thing that was, you are either a project manager or an office manager or a superintendent conversation. It allowed me to expand beyond that, which was really motivating for me and what ultimately led me to where I am now at Procore.
So, and I'm sure that most contractors, I'm sure there's an electrician, a foreman, an office person of some kind that probably has a passion for this because technology is such a part, and they might be younger in age, but not necessarily. That they really like technology and they really like digging into it and kind of getting into the weeds. So yeah, that's a great place. Maybe talk a little bit more about maybe something you've seen in either in the company you work for or you work with a lot of companies. Like where do I even start? So I found a person. How do I help guide them to not, because again, it's real easy to get distracted.
Right.
So how do I guide the efforts of that person working on improving your tech stack?
Well, one, there needs to be a level of humility in that individual, enough that they will ask questions of the skeptical folks out there, the ones that bias toward technology being the panacea that it's not. It isn't. I wanted to talk to those people. I wanted to understand what they did or didn't get or did or didn't like about the use of technology to do their job when they'd been there for, let's say, 30 years and they never needed it before, right? Mm-hmm. One of the best things I saw is that almost every one of them had a smartphone. And I say, if you can text, you can use software. And I met them where they were. I had to be open to hearing the resistance. I had to be able to look beyond that. But once I found a way into the psyche of the detractors or the resistors, the folks that really knew this business well, I was able to learn so much about how to make sure technology was actually delivering on what they thought it could once they understood its possibilities. So an organization that recognizes someone like me or others that have interest, encouraging them to say, you don't know it all, lead with vulnerability and humility, find those that know the most about our business. When you learn from them, you'll be able to then connect the dots. Why this software will help what they know and help what they do better.
So I'm hearing you mentioned this a few times. I want to make sure we're clear though. So you start with like maybe what is a choke point in the process, in the construction process, and then start to look at what software out there could help with that, or
Absolutely. Let's do the discovery first. Internal. Understand our operational successes and shortfalls. I would say what's working better with technology is a good thing to identify versus being able to separate things that aren't working at all or take an inordinate amount of time that we see a solution for and that can be enabled by technology, and being able to separate the two. Hey, this already works great, it can work better. Great, that's one work stream. The other is, this doesn't work at all. I got a case example here. One of the things that I was first asked to do when I jumped on a job site, I barely knew what submittals were, barely knew what an RFI was. And the first thing I was told is that on the back of every plan sheet of drawings, where there was an RFI or a submittal related to that sheet of drawings, a physical copy, huge 24 by whatever sized document, I would fold it over, and on the back I would literally paste a printout of that RFI or submittal. Well, if a job changed 5 times in a month, which is very common to do nowadays, change order, anyway, this became ridiculous. How could I possibly keep pasting over on the back of a large set of plans that were stuck in the office? And then when something got removed, changed, or dirty, which always happened, because a bunch of people are touching this. So that was an example of something that operationally did not work. I had to move from this is the way we've always done things and we get by to we're fundamentally changing our operation here. And then there's things that worked well that I would just, okay, this could be even better if we just did this one thing using technology. And a lot of times that was in the ways we communicated, in the ways we captured video, for example, or photo. Just, hey, instead of taking a photo and leaving it in your photo album, take a photo through the software that we use, construction management software, where it has an app, where you literally take a photo from the app. One step removed. Like that just made what we did well even better. So as an example.
Yeah, it's a continuously improving standpoint.
Right.
All right, so we've come to the end of our conversation. So we always close our conversation by refocusing on the why of what we do. So what motivates you to do this day in and day out? What keeps you excited and passionate about what you do?
Well, what I get to do at Procore is really amazing. I get to partner with the most influential industry organizations in construction to make sure that whatever we're doing for this industry, and that being we're a technology company, and we provide a product, and that product is making people's lives in construction better. It's a backwards way of saying that's what our vision is. It is our vision. What gets me pumped, what keeps me excited, is seeing someone who got into this industry to do amazing things, tangible, visible things that you can see and experience. The built environment is that. To see them excited about going to work every day, knowing they have the best tools at their disposal to deliver on their motivation, their passion, their excitement, that's what motivates me. As long as that's something I get to do, that I'll be happy. I will see forward any challenging days like anyone else has and say, look, what I'm doing is actually helping the greater industry do some of the best work of their lives.
Well, Chandler, thank you for being here. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you. It's been a great time.
That was my conversation with Chandler Brooks, Director of Industry Partnerships and Alliances at Procore Technologies. You can connect with Chandler and what he is working on by clicking on the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, you can help us grow by subscribing and leaving a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast player. Thanks for listening to this episode of Keeping the Lights On. We'll see you next time.